Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to open up and disassemble this MSI GS75 Stealth 8SF-018CA. There's a bunch of other numbers, but I'm not going to read that off. Alright, so we're going to be using a JAS1 screwdriver to get the bottom cover off. It looks like the customer took this apart before, so we'll see if if yours ends up being more difficult or something. Then it could be that the customer broke some clips or something. Anyways, we're going to remove all these screws. If this video helps you out, please make sure to like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. And if it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. Alright, so let's go ahead and continue removing all these screws. Also, if you can't do any of those other things, it does help a lot to watch my other videos. Because that tells the algorithm that you're interested in my channel, not just a single video. Alright, so yeah, alright, let's get all these screws out. And then we can start. Am I doing this? Okay, they got some screws in this weird pattern. Alright, so the way I do it, if I didn't already mention, I put the screws flat side down like that on my desk in the pattern I remove them. That way I could easily figure out where the screws came from in case they are different size, shapes, or length. But again, the customer already did this, so it's possible they already mixed up the screws. The bottom screws do all appear to be the same length so far. It looks like they are missing the 3 screws from down here though. So we'll see. Okay, and of course there's a screw that was hidden underneath this factory seal. You do have to kind of make a hole there to get to the screw. Okay, again, they lost 3 screws here. Let's see if we can pop this out with a suction cup. I'm going to hold down the edge of the bottom part here and then try and pull this. Doesn't seem to want to come up easily, so we'll see here. Does it come out separately here? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the laptop bit. I'm going to get my fingernails in the gap there, and I'm going to push on the palm rest, not the touchpad, just the palm rest, and see if we can pop it out that way. It doesn't seem to want to come out easily. So, let me get this. I've done one before. Okay, I'm going where this port is because it doesn't have a little bar going across, so I can pull up slightly. I'm going to run my fingernail along the side edge here. You can use plastic pry tools, obviously. You don't have to use fingernails if you don't have any. And then it looks like it's probably going to unpop from here. I see a separation, a gap there. So we're going to try and pop the clips there. Okay, and that's working. So basically get my fingernail in there and slide it along to pop those clips. There we go. Then we're going to work our way over to the side. Pull up. I'm pulling up slightly, pushing down here, and pulling up with my fingernails here. And then we're going to try and slide my fingernail there again. Oh, this side doesn't seem to want to pop out easily. So maybe I have to just pull more? No? Okay, this side doesn't really have a spot to grab. Let's see. The suction cup can't really stick there. So we'll stick it down here, and that looks like it worked. There's also a little hole right there. Okay. This is like a battery reset hole. You can use like a little pin or needle to push the button that's on the other side of this cover, and if your computer's having issues powering up, then sometimes that will get it working. All right, we're gonna wiggle this around and pop this out. Okay, so there's what the inside looks like. It looks like they kind of dented this all up. They said their computer is overheating. You can see there's a lot of dust in the fans. Hopefully their fans aren't damaged, but we'll find out. You can see they have 2 slots here for SSDs. I'm pretty sure they're both M.2 PCIe NVMe slots. So if you want to add another SSD, you can do it there. That's what we're going to be doing. And then I'm also going to be redoing the thermal paste. So I'm going to carefully open this up, and I actually want to power this on to make sure it's working okay, because I didn't do that earlier. So let me make sure. I think the power button, is it on the side? Where is it? On the side. Oh, it's all the way up here. I'm blind. So I just want to make sure it powers up and works okay. Looks like it's okay. So they wanted me to just install another SSD in here, and then clean the dust. It's pretty dusty, and redo the thermal paste. So I'm gonna clean this up, basically use a brush it off, and use a powerful electric air blower, blow the dust away, and then we will be back. There's a bug flying around here I'm trying to catch. Where'd it go? Okay, anyways, I'll clean this up and I'll be back. See you guys in a bit. All right, so I'm back. We cleaned out the bottom cover here a little bit, all right? And we also cleaned out the fans. I noticed the fans sometimes get stuck. You can see like they're having a hard time turning. Hopefully it's just some dust is getting caught in there. So we're gonna take this whole thing apart and see. All right, we're gonna first peel off this plastic thing here. So normally there's some adhesive holding it down, but I guess the adhesive wasn't holding too well, or the customer peeled it off before, so it's not really holding too strong now. All right, I don't know if they're missing any screws from in here because the customer did this earlier. I mean, they took it apart earlier, so if you see any screws I didn't take out, you might have to remove them. Okay, so we're gonna remove the battery screws here. Let me get some stuff out of the way here. Okay. So we'll remove this one. We're removing the battery screws first. So we got one there, one here, and one here. All right, and then we got one screw here, and it looks like the other one here was part of the bottom case screw. So only 4 screws it seems, okay? Unless something was missing. Anyways, we're gonna try and lift this up. Okay, so you can see we can lift this up carefully. We can move it this way. You want to be careful pulling this out. Don't just yank on the battery. We're going to try and grab as close as we can to the connector. Let me actually zoom in a little bit here for you guys. Okay, we're going to grab as close as we can to the connector, and then you kind of want to wiggle it. So we're going to grab here and kind of just wiggle it side to side a little bit, and there we go. Comes out just like that. If you're getting a replacement battery, make sure you plug it in the right way. You can see how the connector looks. Make sure it's not flipped upside down that way. Okay, there's a lot of dust in here. And the battery model, if you need it, is right there. You might want to check your own, but this is BTY-M6L. Some people say they don't want to check theirs because they don't want to take it apart and then take it apart a second time. But it's always a good idea to make sure you can actually open up your computer before you go and buy parts. So might as well do it. All right. Okay. So there we go. We got that. After removing the battery, it's always a good idea to carefully open up the computer and then press and hold the power button for at least 15 seconds. All right. So I'm going to hold this about 15 seconds. I forgot I need to clean the dust in here on the inside as well, because there's quite a bit of dust in there. So I'll hold it about 15 seconds, and then yeah, that's pretty much good. It makes it a lot safer to work on, especially since we're going to be disconnecting the LCD LVDS connector right here. A lot of times if you don't do that, you can actually fry the backlight circuit, fry this cable, fry the connector. You can even fry your screen. So it's always a good idea, press and hold the power button before opening and removing other components. If you're just doing the SSD, you should be okay without even removing the battery, but for other things, then you might want to be careful. Okay, let me clean this up a little bit more and I'll be back. All right, as you can see, it still has like stuff on it, but I did clean off the most of the dust. All right, at least the stuff that would kind of come off. Some of it is kind of still stuck on there, as you can see here. But I got out as much dust as I could. To get off that stuff, you'd have to kind of use a slightly damp paper towel, like just a little bit of water on it. But yeah, I don't want to mess around with it too much. So let's go ahead and get the cover back off and start disconnecting things. So we got the keyboard connector here. We're gonna flip this latch up. I just used my fingernail there. And then we can go ahead and pull this out. Be very careful. There's two, it's folded over. We're just pulling this back, okay? And there we go. Okay, we're gonna do this with the touchpad, trackpad connector as well. Flip that latch up. It's best to use your fingernails and just pull straight up. If you don't, you can use plastic pry tools, but make sure you're just going straight up, not pulling it out that way. Otherwise, you might rip this little plastic tab connector off, and if you do that, then putting the connector in isn't going to do anything. All right, so you want to be careful with that. All right, why is this not coming out? So we're going to try and pull this straight back. Oh, no wonder why the latch went back on. a little bit. All right, so make sure you just flip it straight up. Be careful not to push it backwards that way. Okay, it looks like there's actually a third PCIe NVMe SSD slot right here. So that's interesting. Supports 3. They didn't label anything on here, so you don't know which slot is the main one. As far as I can tell, I don't see anything here that says which one is the main one. So I'm assuming this is the main one, so make sure you don't mix it up and put the other SSD there, or it might not boot up unless you change the boot device order. Okay, we're going to undo that screw, and we're going to take this SSD out. So after you do that, you can lift this up slightly, or you should be able to. I think there's a thermal pad holding it down, so you want to very slowly pull on it. Okay, wow, that's stuck in there really strong. So be careful here. This one is holding on really strong. Okay, I'm gonna kind of get under here and slowly lift, and there we go. Okay, and you want to go very slow, because if you try and lift it up really quick, you might end up bending this and snapping it. All right, hold tight on the side, and then just kind of wiggle as you pull, and there we go. This is what the bottom of the SSD looks like. Some dust is kind of sticking to the side edges, and you can see the thermal pads kind of leave a little bit of grease on there. But yeah, we'll set that aside. This is an M.2 PCIe NVMe, and I'm not sure who makes this. Oh, Samsung. But these are like cheap Samsung SSDs. So yeah, these cheap SSDs, a lot of times they go bad. So keep that in mind. All right. Okay, what else do we got here? We got this connector over here for the battery charging indicator light. Flip that latch up, and then we'll pull that out as well. Okay. What else do we got? Okay, we're gonna go over here. You got actually the speaker connectors on this side, as well as this little connector, which I'm not sure where it's going to. I guess we'll find out when we get the motherboard out. We gotta peel this tape adhesive up. I'm not sure why they put this tape on stuff. It's not actually necessary. It doesn't really do much. If anything, maybe it's to help the latch, so if you drop it, it's not gonna pop out. But if it drops hard enough that this pops out, then you probably broke something else. All right. Anyways, we're gonna flip that latch up, and we're gonna pull this cable out. All right, and then we got these speakers connected right here. The wire splits into two, black and white, going to the left side, which is the right speaker, and then the white and black. White and black going to the, did I say it right? Red and black going to the left side, which is the right speaker, and then the black and white one going to this right side, which is the left speaker, because when you flip it over. But anyways, I use the wings here with my fingernails, and I kind of just wiggle this as I pull it back. I like to use my fingernails because you can feel what you're grabbing easier. There's little components here that are raised up, and if you yank on those, you'll end up ripping those out and damaging it. So you want to be very careful removing these kinds of connectors. Okay, then we got I gotta move some stuff out of the way so I can show you guys. All right, LCD LVDS connector here. So this one, flip that latch up. Okay, same thing. And then you gotta lift up from here. There's some adhesive, and we're gonna pull it straight back. All right, there's some adhesive here as well, so you want to be careful. You don't want to just rip it over this way. You want to try and keep it flat. So I pull on it that way as I kind of pull up, and you can see it peels up. You can also go from this side and kind of pull up, and there we go. All right, then we're going to hold this down here and pull this up as well. The reason I'm holding it down is so you don't suddenly just yank it out real fast over there. Okay, so there we go, and then this cable kind of goes there. We do have to move that out of the way. Looks like there's some dust stuck under there, so we'll use some tweezers or needle nose pliers and get that out. Okay, what else do we got that we got to remove? The DC jack charge port connector is right here. It looks like it's, oops, sorry. I got to move some stuff out of the way so I can move the laptop over and show you this. Okay, so DC jack charge port connectors here. It looks like there's a screw holding this down, so we're going to undo that screw. All right, and then this metal plate comes out. At least it looks like it does. It's caught on something, so not sure which way we gotta move this to get it out. It's caught. Okay, I think it's, oh, it's lifting out the whole thing. So there we go. You can see these L brackets. That's what it kind of slides in. So you kind of have to, I guess, slide it back a little bit. I don't know. It just came out when I wiggle. Oh, actually no. Huh. Interesting. How did that work? That's going to be tough to put back in. It's okay, there we go. All right, so I guess maybe they have this little metal tab here that you can slide it back a little bit. So I guess you lift here and then you can kind of use this to kind of help slide it back. I don't know. It's being difficult, so I don't know. Maybe not. All right, well, there we go. After I tilted it back up that way, then it came out. And you can see the DC jack charge port connector just comes up there. So we're gonna leave that. All right, you got the wireless antennas here. It looks like one has a little red thing on it. So the one with the red thing plugs into the black triangle arrow there, and then the one without it plugs into the white arrow. So we're gonna take the wireless antennas out. There's one screw here to get the wireless card out. We'll take that screw out. Okay, and then once you get that screw out, we should be able to lift this up slightly. And then because it's so cramped in here, I'm going to have to use my fingernail on the raised part here, and I'm going to like just push on it. Okay, just like that. And there we go. Okay, here's the wireless card. Again, I'm going to grab the tail of the antenna and I'm going to pull straight up on the tail. So just like that. Okay, grab the tail and pull straight up. There we go. There's the wireless card. It is a Killer 1550i. There you go. Intel 9560 NGW at 9560 NGW. Okay, and we'll set that aside. All right, give me a second. I gotta check. I probably got some messages here. Oops, I got a missed call. Give me a second. I'll be back. All right, I'm back. So let's clean this off a little bit. There are some crumbs that were underneath that cable, it seems. So we're just gonna kind of loosen up with a brush here and then blow them away. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. Toothbrush. All right, let's go ahead and continue undoing connectors and screws. We got this little connector here, which I'm pretty sure is for the power button. Again, we got this latch. Flip that up. Once you flip that up, you can go ahead and pull this back. You want to be very careful. If you break this, you're not going to be able to turn on the computer. Okay, so just wiggle that and carefully pull that back. All right, make sure that when you do that, you do want to kind of bend it a little bit to keep it out of the way, just like that. Okay, but don't fold it backwards. Okay, what else do we got? We got another connector over here. So this one going into here, most likely for the camera and microphone. All right, we're gonna carefully peel this up a little bit. Be careful not to rip this piece here. So I'm gonna hold this down over here, and then I'm gonna peel this a little bit. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and go up here. This cable is a little bit tricky. If you can kind of use your fingernails or something to kind of wiggle it. But the best way is if you have some good needle nose pliers here, and then just pinch that connector. Make sure you're just pinching the white part there, not this cream colored part. And then grab that and just wiggle it a little. Just slowly, carefully wiggle it. Make sure you're not losing grip. And there we go. If it slips and you grab and you pinch these wires, you're going to end up breaking them. So be very careful. All right, this cable has like this stuff over it, but you can see it's kind of like open. You can see the cables in there, kind of weird. I don't know why it's coming out like that. All right, so I would have thought this cable would come all the way out over here, but I guess not. So I guess we'll see. Make sure when we lift out the motherboard, it's not in the way, but you can see it's like not going all the way back. It's stuck there. Okay, hopefully that's all the connectors for now. Let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit and then remove the rest of the motherboard screws. I'll zoom out a little bit more. Okay, so we got all the screws here. Let's see, are there any? No screws there, no screws there, no screws there. Interesting. Okay, is there only one other screw here? So I see one screw here. I don't know if that's the only one holding the motherboard down, but I just see that one screw there. You can see there's no markings at all here to tell you that you took a screw out from there. So I'm going to use a Sharpie there and just mark that so I know that's where that screw came from. Okay. And let's see if we can now get the motherboard out, or if there's some more hidden screws. As far as I can tell, I don't see any other hidden screws, so hopefully this will come out. Again, I don't know if the customer lost some screws or something or took things out beforehand, so keep that in mind. If you see any screws remaining, you might have to take those out, okay? Looks like we might have to start from the left side, because on the right side, the audio jacks kind of stick out into the side here, so we can't lift that side first. So let's see if we can get this side out. Okay. Sometimes these models you kind of have to flex it a tiny bit like that, so it pulls the connectors in a tiny bit, and then it allows you to get it out. And I'm also pulling the casing out slightly because the HDMI port there was kind of getting caught on it. So yeah, keep that in mind. All right, and let's see here. I'm gonna grab all the way over here, carefully wiggle it and lift it up. Make sure this cable's not getting caught. All right, make sure none of the cables are getting caught. You want to pull those out of the way as you carefully lift. Again, we're going very slowly here just in case something is caught there. The wireless antennas do need to go underneath, and they do stay under. They don't come out with the motherboard, so keep that in mind. Carefully, slowly lifting some more, wiggling a little bit up and down, left and right, wherever. And there we go. Okay, so we got the motherboard out. It looks like they must have upgraded the RAM at some point. So I'm not too sure why they needed my help with doing this, if they've been able to take out the whole motherboard themselves. If you're putting this down, make sure you have a surface that's kind of anti-static to prevent it from like shorting out or something. Also, you don't want it to be conductive. You can see there's a lot of dust in here that we're gonna have to clean out. And yeah, here's the power button. So power button board is replaceable if you need to replace it. Keyboard is held in with these melted plastic nibs, so if you're going to replace the keyboard, probably best to replace the whole keyboard assembly. You do have to swap or bring the screen over. There's a few screws holding this in. Best way to do that is open the laptop about 90 degrees, hang the screen over the edge of your desk, undo the screws, and then you can kind of lift the screen up after you do that. All right, anyways, there's all this dust, so I'm going to clean this part inside, blow the dust out, and I'm going to clean this out as well, and then I'll be back. All right. And most likely I'm going to have to, they said to redo the thermal paste here, so we'll take the whole heatsink out, take the fans out, and we'll redo the thermal paste. Okay, so I'll clean the dust out, and I'll see you guys in a bit. Here you can also see the DC jack charge port connector. Oh, let me actually, there's a tiny CMOS BIOS battery here. I do have a supplier for, or not, well, I have a company that told me they'd send samples if I need batteries. And they have like a discount code or something. So if you need batteries, let me know, or referral code. But here's the CMOS battery, and this is the RAM. Just like every other model of computer, you pull the two tabs to the side, it pops up, and then you can pull it out like that. And the RAM here is a 16 gig PC4 2666V. So if you want to upgrade it, put another PC4 666V. All right, PC4 2666V, 16 gigs. All right, it's not good to have mismatching RAM, but if it's all you have, then I guess you can do that. But yeah, they put another DDR4 2666. All right, it's best to have matching speeds, and even better to have matching like same brand and type everything. Okay. All right, and no, you can't put like new DDR5 if they have DDR5 or DDR3. The slot is actually different. Okay. So you can't mix and match like that. All right, anyways, we'll be back. All right, so I'm back. Here you can see, let me actually zoom out a little bit more here. All right, so we cleaned out the dust. This stuff, whatever that dust stain, won't come out, but we cleaned that as much as we could, and we cleaned this as well. I'm gonna have to move this aside because we are going to have to work on the board. Okay, so we cleaned all of this up. You can see the fans are all clean. It looks like they actually bent this. It doesn't rest completely flat. There's actually a dent on the heat pipe there. So I don't know if they damaged this pipe to where it's not working right, because they did say it was randomly shutting off sometimes. So I don't know. Anyways, let's go ahead and see about getting the heatsink off. We're gonna redo the thermal paste, and then hopefully it will work a lot better. Okay, all right, we do have to undo these connectors here for the fans. So we got this one here. Okay, if you want, you can actually mark it so you know which is which. I'm gonna mark it like this. So we'll put a line on here, and then we'll put this one in the middle. So I put a line towards one side and then a line in the middle there, so I know which is which. Or you can even just color like way more like this. Just color this whole thing, and then you know that one's all there. Okay, it also tells you which side up the connector goes, so you don't accidentally try and plug it in upside down. go. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and disconnect these cables. Again, I'm just using my fingernails and kind of just wiggling as I pull. Carefully keep wiggling this, and there we go. All right, this one's a little cramped. I might have to use some tools to get in there, but let's see. Okay, it works. There we go. Okay, and then we got the last one here. We're gonna, same thing. I just use my fingernails and just wiggle it. All right. Usually I prefer using my fingernails because I can feel a lot better what's going on, and if it's stuck or anything, I'm not going to just accidentally yank too hard and damage it. Okay, so there we go. We got that out. We're going to put that capped on tape there. I'm not sure why they put this tape and stuff here. It's not really necessary. Okay, and again, you can see this part is kind of flexing up. Okay, we're going to undo the screws here. One screw is kind of covered by this thermal pad thing, so you got to peel it up and get it out of the way. And then we're just going to undo all these screws. There's no specific pattern on how you got to remove these screws, so just remove them however, but when we go to put them back, you do want to put them in the right order. Okay, so we got 4 screws holding this. This is the GPU core here underneath this. Okay, and then we got 3 for the CPU over here. So we're going to take these 3 out as well. Okay, and the last one here. Someone's at the door, I think. Okay. So we got all those screws out. Next thing we gotta do is remove this. Usually you can't just lift straight up because then stuff like this happens. So what you gotta do is you gotta actually rotate it a little bit, twist it, okay? So we're gonna kind of rotate this. You can see I'm kind of like twisting it a little bit, okay? And that releases the hold of the thermal paste. So there's not really much place to kind of grab here. So I'm gonna kind of put my finger here, and then I'm gonna use this to kind of rotate it a little bit, okay? And you can see the CPU actually already kind of released there. Okay, so now what's actually holding down is the GPU side, and that's over here. Hopefully there's no hidden screws or anything there. You can actually see the DC jack charge port connector here. This, you have to pinch these 2 in because it has these little clamps that clip into place. So if you want to remove it, pinch those 2 in, and then you can kind of wiggle this to pull this back, okay? Just like that. We're going to take this out so it's not in the way. Let's see, so pull this back, and then it might be easier to, go out this way. So if you can lift it up and pull it out that way, this is what the DC jack charge port looks like. Pretty cool. All right, I like when they use these removable ones instead of having to solder it. As long as you don't break this connector, you should be good. But because the thing is being plugged in and unplugged from there, it's always more likely the DC jack's going to get damaged than this kind of connector. Okay, so good design in terms of that. I don't know why they put the RAM on the bottom. Bad design there. All right, anyways, I'm trying to pull down with my finger here and push with my thumb that way to rotate it. Okay, again, hopefully there's no more hidden screws under here. It's pretty rare that it'll have more than that, so I think that's pretty much it. But wow, that thing is stuck down there really good. So I'm gonna kind of get my fingernail in here and pull up with my pointer finger and push down with my thumb there, and wow, it's really stuck there. So I don't know if this paste, the thermal pads there are bad or what, but that's really stuck. Okay, I'm gonna try and pull with my fingernail here. Wow, the GPU must be fried in there. Okay, and carefully pull on this again. Wow, we can't even twist this. It's like stuck really bad in there. Okay, actually it's twisting now, you can see. Okay, so I'm holding it down here and we're kind of twisting it a bit. And usually this twisting motion will release it. So you gotta keep kind of just moving it, twisting it like this, and eventually you should be able to, you can see it's kind of coming out better now. Okay, wow, that's stuck super strong there. Huh. Continue twisting. And try and pry this side again a little bit. No wonder why it's bent. they must have tried to do this and damaged it. There we go. Okay, so got this out, and here we go. So there are the thermal pads here. Okay, usually we just reuse the thermal pads and just stick it back down. You can see all the paste there. Oh, that's super crusty on there. Okay, so I'm gonna use a little just plastic scrapey tool like this and just scrape this stuff off, and then we're gonna use some isopropyl rubbing alcohol to clean off any residue. We're gonna do that on both of these, and then we will add some new paste. This GPU die actually has a lot of it's going to need a lot of paste, but let me show you here. Let me try actually with the plastic razor blade first. Okay, so we're just going to kind of scrape this stuff up, and normally I would turn this upside down over a trash can to get this stuff out so it doesn't end up all over my desk like it's ending up right now, but yeah, okay, I'll clean that up later. So just like that, and we're going to do the same thing with this one. Okay, just scrape that stuff off. Okay. Okay. There we go, and scrape that up. Okay, so basically I'm going to do that with the motherboard as well. Okay, but the motherboard, I don't want to scrape it onto itself because then it will land on all these components, and I don't want that to happen. So for now, I'm going to move this aside, and then I'll clean this up as well, and then I'll be back. I'll show you guys the cleaning it with isopropyl rubbing alcohol. All right, see you guys in a bit. All right, so I'm back. Let's go ahead now and clean this thing up more. So I scraped it off, basically used this. Scraped that off, and then I went in the edges like this, okay, and then I took a toothbrush and brushed off the rest, but I did hold it upside down over a trash can to get that stuff out. All right, next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna use some isopropyl rubbing alcohol and a paper towel to clean off any excess residue here. We don't want to leave the old bad paste on there. Okay, so I got a piece of paper towel here, and I'm using some 91% isopropyl rubbing alcohol. Basically, I just get the paper towel and then I just pour the rubbing alcohol. I hold the paper towel to it and then just pour it on like that, and you get some there. Oops, I got paste on my thumb onto there, but that's okay because we're cleaning it off. Okay, so let's clean this up. Just rub it up like that with the rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol, whatever you want to call it. All right, just like that. You can see we're getting lint on there. It's okay, we'll clean that off later. Okay, and then we'll clean this as well. And normally you don't want the paste going out over the edges too much. Usually from factory they put way too much paste and end up with it all over the place. Okay, so we clean that off. Now we're gonna just use the air blower, kind of get the lint out if we can. Okay, it looks like there's a small scratch on there that doesn't want to clean off. That's okay. All right, there we go. So we cleaned up the CPU and GPU dies. You can see they're super shiny. Next, we're gonna go on to the heatsink and do the same thing, okay? So we'll grab the CPU, GPU heatsink here, and let me see, can I show both at the same time? I do have to move the motherboard out of the way. Okay, so get that out of the way. Hopefully that's enough room. And same thing, we're just going to add some isopropyl rubbing alcohol to the paper towel, and we'll try and wipe it up. Okay, usually there's some corrosion there that won't wipe away, but let's see. Okay. Alright, it actually cleaned up pretty nicely. You can see there's a little discoloration there. Okay, same thing with the GPU. Clean that off. Wow, this stuff is stuck on there really good, so we're gonna need a new piece of paper towel. And just get one and then tear a piece. You don't need a giant piece, and just fold it up. Okay, let's get a bit more isopropyl rubbing alcohol on here. Okay, and we'll just clean that again. Again, be careful, you don't want to bend the heat pipes. I think when they tried to do it, they bent it, so I don't know if this heatsink is toast, but we'll see. Alright. Okay, can see it's a lot better. We're gonna fold this in so the dirty part is inside now, and then clean a little bit more. Okay, much cleaner. There's a little corrosion, as you can see, but you can't really do anything like with that. You don't want to like sand it or anything. Okay, you don't want to damage the copper, but there we go. Okay, so now we're gonna have to add new thermal paste and then put this thing back in place. Okay, so let's move this over here so you can see again. Move the heatsink out of the way. Okay, so we got that. This is getting close to like a GPU, or not a GPU, a desktop heatsink. So we're probably gonna need quite a bit of thermal paste. I might need more of these. Let me see, these ones, hopefully there's enough in here. All right, this one you're only gonna need like about the size of a grain of rice. Okay, so we'll start with that, and we'll just make like a grain of rice kind of thing there. Okay, so just like that. When you put the heatsink on, it is going to smush it super flat and make a very fine layer. So even though it doesn't look like that much, it's going to spread super thin. So keep that in mind. You don't need a crazy amount. All right. Some people like to spread it out in advance, but then that oozes everything out the edges because that's way too much. There's no way you can spread it that fine without creating lots of air pockets. So I found this way creates the least air pockets. Okay, so that's what it looks like. All right, and then when you put the thing on top, it's basically going to smush it all flat. And you want to try and make it as even as possible in a round lump. Okay, then we got this one. It's going vertical this way. This one you kind of need about the size of a pea. Okay, so we'll just put a whole bunch here. I might need to open another one. Okay, that's a good amount. Okay, so as you can see, we got an amount about the size of a pea, a little bit smaller because it's not a full like size die like on a desktop, but okay. So just like that, and then we're going to kind of spread it a little bit vertically, or depending which way you're looking at it, it could be horizontally, but we're going to spread it a little bit like a lump, so that way when we put it, it will kind of spread outwards a bit more. Okay, so just like that. Okay, and you don't want a crazy amount. If you want, you can actually lift it up after. Usually I try not to do that because then that introduces like air bubbles into it. But if you want, you can, if you have lots of paste, you can put an amount, squish it on, then take it back out and look how much it covered. And then if you want, you can add a little bit more in there and then it will smush the air bubbles out to the edges. But I try to avoid doing that because then you add extra paste that will end up here. Other people will do like, you can maybe spread it super thin and then put some there as well. But if you've done a lot of these, you kind of know, and you can kind of get a good idea from looking at how I did it. Okay, so there you go, you got that lump there. Okay, next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna put the heatsink back on top. We'll zoom out here, and these are labeled. Okay, so you can actually see there's a 1 here. Oh, they covered these numbers. So, right? Actually, there's no numbers there. Interesting. Usually they put the numbers on every single one of these, but it's missing the numbers for these two. And then they put the number 1 here as well. Wait, okay. It's probably going to be like 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, and I think that's a 7. All right. So 1, and then, yeah, they didn't label it here, so you can't see. But most likely they're going to go with this one, then that, and then we'll do this 4, again, 4, 5, 6, 7. The center ones are kind of Okay. The other thing I need to check is, are these fans okay? I probably should have done that before putting the paste, because now I gotta check all the fans. Okay, so let me actually check the fans real quick. I'm gonna set the motherboard aside for now, and we're gonna check the fans here. Okay, so as you can see, the fan, actually it spins okay. It should be fine. But I'm gonna actually take them out just to make sure all the dust is removed from inside. I do see 2 screws there. Are they hiding another screw over here? Possibly. We might have to peel this up. Okay, so let's peel up this adhesive here, because I'm pretty sure they're hiding a screw there. But this adhesive is kind of being a pain. Let's see. We're going to try with a plastic razor blade here and try and scrape that. Let me get it. I think I need a new one. Plastic razor blade here. Okay. Let's go ahead and see if we can scrape that off. I'm going to rotate it this way, and we're going to try and scrape this up. Okay, you can see we can get this up. We're going to go ahead and peel this off and see if there's some hidden screws there. And there is 1 screw there and a bunch of dust there, so get the dust out of that. Whoa, that's actually a lot of dust in there. Look at all that dust. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we do need to take that out. Let's go ahead and get a, I think this is a JS0 screwdriver that we're gonna need. So we'll take that and we'll get this screw out. Yep. Again, keep all the screws in order. And we got 1 here. And we got 1 more here. Hopefully there's no other hidden screw somewhere, because I don't see any adhesive to remove except this, but yep. Okay, there we go. Wow, look at that. This is what was blocking the fan. It would randomly blow into the fan or get stuck. Or actually it was probably just all stuck in here before, and that was causing it to overheat. So we're gonna, wow, you see that? Okay, so we need to get all of this stuff out. And the best way to do that is to use a toothbrush. Okay, and you kind of just brush it, and then after that you can blow the thing out. So basically you're just loosening up the dust here. Okay, and then we're gonna get that out. Just like that. Make sure there's no dust sticking on there. Try and get all of this out if you can. I'm just holding, you put a little pressure there to make it so it doesn't spin too freely, so that way you can brush the blades better. Wow, that's a lot of dust coming out of there. So I'm gonna have to brush this into the trash can next to me. And then we're gonna use the air blower to kind of clean it up. Let's see. I don't know if these fans can, okay, these propellers are actually removable, so you want to carefully lift this up, all right? The safest way, if you can, is you go from back here. You see this solid ring in the center? You can push evenly on the left and right, or 2 sides, and then you can kind of just carefully plop it out. You don't want to push too hard on this one, because it does seem like it comes out fairly easily, but there we go. Okay, we got that out. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna clean up the propellers here, and we're gonna add some oil to it. Okay, so we'll clean that. I'm gonna grab this with a paper towel and just clean the thing like this. Okay, let me let the customer know that I'm gonna have to clean all of these, and yeah, I'll be back. Give me a second. All right, so I'm back. So basically I got some oil here. I just use a paper clip here, and then I just put a little oil in there. Okay, and then what we're gonna do, we're gonna put this back on, make sure it goes in nicely, and then spin it around. Spins a lot smoother now. Okay, and you can see like when the fan can wobble back and forth like that, that's how you know the grease is good. All right, I'm gonna grab this carefully and kind of take it out. Okay, and I'm gonna clean it up and put some grease one more time just to make sure the grease is clean, because sometimes there's some residue in there that's a little bit gross and that can cause some problems. So we're gonna tip this over again, get a little oil on it. I don't know if you can see, there's like a tiny droplet there. And then we're just going to get it into the hole. There we go. And we'll put this back on. Okay, make sure it goes in. Don't force it in. Okay, that one's good. All right. Next, we're going to flip this back on top. Make sure this adhesive is out of the way. We're going to have to carefully flip this back over and then get the screws back in. Okay. So if you want, tape this back on. If you're wondering if this tape goes bad or something, you can use any kind of tape to seal that back up. You don't need to use special tape. Okay. I would avoid using duct tape though, because duct tape after a time it gets really gross. It like starts flaking apart. So avoid using duct tape. You can use like packaging tape or something. All right. Let's move that back out of the way. Get this screw in and we'll tighten them all down. Okay. And make sure that you can actually see the fan is going in the right spot. And we should be good there. All right, we're gonna have to do this with the other two fans as well, if we can. So we're gonna put this thing, tape that back on. All right, let's see if we can do that with this fan. They did dent this heatsink pipe. Let me take a picture of it for them. Okay, and there's a hole here with some dust clogged inside, so we're gonna have to get that out as well. Look at that. Can you see? Can you see that? What's coming out of there? Oh my goodness, look at that. You see that? This was clogged inside the fan. I'm gonna send a picture to them. All right, give me a second. I'm gonna send them a picture. I'll be back, give me a second. All right, I'm back. So let's go ahead and get these out. Okay. And let's see how much more dust is stuck in there. So we got 3 going along this edge. Okay. Again, I always keep the screws in order just to be safe, because sometimes they can be slightly bigger, slightly whatever, different size, shape, or whatever. Okay. Oops. I almost lost one. Get that there. Okay. And then we got one here. And one here. I think both these fans come out at the same time. All right, so there we go. 5 screws, and you can see it's detached. All right, and there's a whole bunch of dust inside that fan. You can see a whole bunch of dust here, and that's after I blew the thing out. So yeah, there's a lot of dust inside. So if you're working on this computer, you might want to take these fans out, because there is quite a bit of dust in there. And that's after I already like blew it out quite a bit with the powerful air blower. So let me send this to the customer. Give me a second, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. So I'm gonna have to clean this out. Again, I'm just gonna use a toothbrush, kind of brush it out, and then clean this up. Okay, I'm gonna do this over the trash can, so I'll see you guys once I get it all cleaned up, and I'll be back. Again, sorry. All right, so we're back. The way I cleaned it, basically, I held it with the thermal pads face up, so that way, or with that side up, so that way the dust wouldn't fall all over it. And then I took the toothbrush and just kind of brushed it all like that, and then used the air blower to kind of get rid of the dust. All right, there we go. We also cleaned up the fans a little bit. We are going to take the propellers off and do the thermal paste, the grease on those as well. So you can see these propellers do come off pretty easily. Very nice. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just brush these off as well. Kind of brush them off just like this. I hold it so it doesn't spin around too freely, and then just brush it one way, brush it the other direction, so that way I get this side of the fan blades and then this side of the fan blades, okay? And do that on both. Same thing. And then go the other way. There we go. And then we're going to clean around underneath here as well. Try and get as much dust as we can off. Okay, so blow the dust out. There's some dust kind of stuck there. It doesn't seem to want to come out, so I guess it is what it is. All right, now we're gonna add the grease to both fans, spin them around, and then clean it up, and then redo the grease one more time. Okay, so we're gonna get the grease in there, and get the grease in there. Okay, just like that. Put the propellers on. Be careful with getting them in. Make sure you don't accidentally damage these copper coils. Okay, this thing's kind of dirty there, but all right. Then we'll spin it around. Okay, you can see how these ones stop. They kind of just get stuck. That's actually not too good. So let's take these out again, clean them again, and hopefully we can get it to where it will spin more freely. Okay, get some more paper towel, grab it by the shaft there and spin it around. Same thing over here, spin it around, and there you go. We got the dirty oil there. We're gonna add some more grease here. Okay, don't get too much. That's too much, a little bit. Okay, get that in there. Might have to do this a second time. Okay, that might be too much right there, so let me pull some of that oil back out. Okay, and then we'll get this back in. Okay, this smaller one might just not have enough weight to allow it, because this one's wobbles, but not as good. Yeah, these two fans, I don't know why, they just stopped there. It's kind of weird. But if I do it a little bit, you can see I can get it to wobble. What about this one? This one I can't get to wobble at all. And it actually feels kind of not too good there. So let's take this off again, carefully. Clean that up. I don't know why that one's having a hard time. Be very careful pulling this up. It's very fragile, okay? All right, clean that off. Ugh, what was that? There's like a hair or something in there? Okay, anyways, we'll get a little bit more oil. Probably last time, we should be good. Out. You actually don't want too much oil. You don't want it overflowing. Okay, so we're gonna use a paper towel and get out the excess there. There we go. All right, and we should be good now. Let's just get this back in. Okay, you can see the wobble there, and this one still doesn't seem to wobble much, but it does spin relatively freely, so I think we should be okay. It might just be the fan is lighter, so yeah, it's weird. It just comes to a like complete stop. Usually when it does that, it means the grease is sticky, but I mean, we redid the grease several times, so I don't know. Looks fine. Okay. Anyways, that's probably the best we're gonna get it. So we're just gonna get this back on and put it back together. This fan's okay, it wobbles. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get this all back together, and hopefully no more overheating issues. Okay, so we got this. Flip it back over on top. Oh, let me actually send them a picture of it much cleaner now. Okay. Okay, there we go. Alright, we'll flip this over and let's see. Difficult part is getting this all lined up because the thing is slightly bent, so it's making it a little bit, maybe that's why that fan keeps getting stuck. Alright, we'll get this screw in, don't over tighten it. Alright, these screws are going into like a plastic frame, so if you tighten too hard you can actually strip that out. Okay, I didn't mention that on the first one, so hopefully you guys didn't already damage it, but here we go. Alright, and then we'll get the last two screws here and get the whole thing back together, and we should be good to go. Last screw here. Okay, so there we go. Flip this over. There we go, that's what it looks like. We'll get the motherboard back up here. Okay. Okay, so we've got this. If you want, you can actually put back the this piece here. Okay, so make sure if you get a replacement that you put it the right way. I mean, you can't really plug it in this way because then the charge port's facing the wrong direction. But if for some reason these wires are bent over the other way, then keep that in mind. You want the black wires going towards the outside and the red wires going towards the... Yeah, I don't think you can flip it over unless you somehow twist this. But anyways, pinch that together. If it doesn't go, you might have to squeeze these in and then pull it in. But I like to pinch the two connectors together, just like that. Okay? And the reason I pinch the two connectors is because if you just push here, you might rip this thing out. Okay, there we go. Make sure that's clipped in. Okay, now we're going to put the heatsink back on. So just line this up. I'm going to flip this over. Okay, can be a little bit tricky to line everything up. It's going to be a little more difficult for me because I'm looking through the camera, or if I do it from here, it's kind of not a straight down view for me. So I'm going to carefully line this up. And hopefully everything is good. All right, so usually what I'll do to make sure everything lines up well, first thing, switch back to the JAS1 screwdriver. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll start with one here and we'll loosely fit the screw. So I like to twist it backwards, hear it click, and then go 1, 2, 3. Okay, I don't see a number here, so I'm going to assume this is number 2. Twist it backwards, click, and then oops, 1, 2, 3. Okay, this one, twist it, click, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we got those 3, then we got 4, 5, 6, and 7. So number 4 is hidden underneath this, so make sure to lift that up. Get that, twist it backwards, click, 1, 2, 3. All right, number 5, get that in here, click, 1, 2, oops, 1, 2, 3. Okay, then number was that number 6? Click, 1, 2, 3, and number 7. Click, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now pretty much since all the screws are in, it's pretty much aligned now. It does have a little wiggle and play, as you can see. So try and make sure to line up the screw hole over here and the screw hole over here. Okay. But yeah. Okay. There we go. Let's go ahead now and tighten this. 1, 2, 3, like that. Here. 1, 2, 3. 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 Tighten it all the way. Okay, make sure it's nice and tight. And this one, tighten it all the way. Make sure it's nice and tight. This one, make sure it's nice and tight. This one over here, nice and tight. Good. Okay, this one, nice and tight. This one, nice and tight. And this one, nice and tight. Okay, so we got all 7 screws in. Next, we gotta plug all the fans back in. All right, again, I marked them so I know which way is up, but basically you don't want the exposed metal pins on this one faced up. You want the solid plastic faced up. All right, line it up. And again, pinch the 2 together just like that. And then this tape was here. You can tape that back down. We got the 2 over here. Oops, make sure it's not trapped. And again, this one I colored the whole thing. Pinch that in. Okay, pinch that in, and then this one, get that lined up. Oh, this cable's in the way. Get that lined up, and pinch that in. There we go. Okay, so we got all the connectors back into place. Again, you want to be careful too with the CMOS battery. A lot of times if you remove that or disconnect it, the BIOS is going to reset, and if that's the case, a lot of times it'll take a lot longer for it to start up the first time, so keep that in mind. If you're turning it on and it's taking a long time to turn on, that's most likely why. Okay, so now that we got that in, we're going to go ahead and grab the base. All right, I got to be careful here. What am I grabbing? Okay, the base and the screen here. Okay. All right, carefully grab the motherboard. Gonna get this all lined up here. All right, so this is, maybe I'll zoom out and get a screenshot for a thumbnail, or not really a screenshot, but I'll just have it here for a thumbnail. Okay, and that way you can see what's being removed. Okay, anyways, we're gonna go ahead and put this at an angle here. Oops, that's upside down. So we're gonna put it at an angle again. We're getting these headphone jacks in first, because those do go through the slot. So go at an angle here, make sure all the cables are up and out of the way, that you're not trapping anything underneath. Okay, very important. And then we can slowly lower this down. Again, make sure these cables that need to be on top are still on top. Wireless antennas, you do need to get them pulled through as well, so make sure you don't accidentally trap them underneath. You can use whatever to kind of just pull them up. Let me see here. This kind of repair would help if you had another person helping hold stuff, but here we go. That up and out of the way. Slowly lower it down. Make sure the charge port, not the charge port, the power button cable is out of the way. All right, keyboard cable. Oh, I didn't even mention what this other cable is. Huh, this goes into the keyboard as well. So I guess the keyboard has 2 connectors actually. All right. Get that on top. Okay, make sure again the wireless antenna cables are on top as well. Okay, other keyboard connector as well. Pull that back. So I don't see a separate keyboard backlight cable, so maybe this one is specifically to control the keyboard backlight, because that one has like RGB and stuff. Okay, slowly lowering it down. Make sure this cable ends up back on top as well. Okay, and this cable. All right, let me take a closer look here. Okay, there's a lot of dust crumbs in here, so. All right, slowly lower it. You might have to pull this part out to let it drop into place. And there we go. All right, there's also a plastic raised mounting spot there. Okay, let me clean this dust up. One thing I noticed, the speakers are kind of a little dangerously close to the edge. Make sure you don't accidentally jab your hand through it, or your thumb through it, your fingers through it. Okay, so grab this, line this up, okay, and then pinch that into place. All right, then I like to hold this down, work my way over, and then work my way over this way. All right, then we got the, oh, I should probably zoom in here. Sorry for that. We got the power button connector here. Same thing, make sure the latch is up. This does have a little blue tab that allows you to pull it in a little bit easier. So push the front of it down and then use that blue tab to help push it into place. And then slide your finger over the latch, all right? You don't wanna like jab it down. You slide your finger over and it will like roll the connector down. All right, then we got this connector here, the LCD LVDS connector. So we'll plug that in first. Again, make sure obviously that the latch is up. you do have to kind of pull this. Okay, it just goes over the thing like that. So make sure to roll that over to the gap. And then we will get this connector in. If it's dirty, you might have to wipe it off. Okay. Some people get mad that I use my fingers to do that. If you want, go ahead and use some rubbing alcohol or something with a paper towel, but I've never had an issue with that. All right, then we're gonna go ahead and go like this, go like that, and then work your way there. Okay, make sure this connector is kind of rolled inwards. You don't want it sticking out, and then when you put the cover on, it can damage it. So make sure that this is pushed in. Okay, next thing we got the one screw that we removed over here. So we're gonna put this screw back in. The DC jack charge port connector already fell back into the right spot, so we don't need to worry about that. Okay, did I trap the wireless? Okay, wireless antennas, make sure they're out. Okay, next we're gonna get this little metal bracket for the DC jack charge port connector, and we're gonna get that into place. Oops, I probably should have waited to put this because now it's in the way. So hold that up out of the way and then get that in. It just drops straight in and goes down like that. Okay, I probably should have kept track because I don't know if the screw goes up there or down here. Let me see if it goes through the bottom cover. Okay, so the bottom cover goes here. Okay, so the bottom cover has a hole here that the screw will go in, so the screw came from up there. Okay, so get that screw back up there, make sure the thing lines up. Okay, and then we got to get all the other connectors and stuff in. Let's get the wireless card in here. Let's zoom in. Okay, very simple. Just make sure it's facing the right side up. There's a notch there, so you can't actually put it in upside down. And then goes in at an angle. Pull it in. Might have to wiggle it a bit. Oh, get the wireless antennas back on top. They're going underneath. So let me actually get the wireless antennas out of there first. Hold them out of the way. Then we can go ahead and get this in. Okay, and pull that. All right, make sure when you lower it down, it goes flat with this. There's a raised notch there that protrudes out from this. So make sure you don't try and push it down when that raised part is underneath the wireless card, or you can damage it, especially if you try and put the screw in. The screw shouldn't be pinching the wireless card with that. It should just be kind of sandwiching it. Okay. All right, so next thing, we got the wireless antenna without the red thing on it. That one goes to the white one. It does help to have like some good tweezers or needle nose pliers. We'll grab this and kind of help guide it. Make sure it's lined up before you push it down. Okay. The way you know it's lined up is if it's in the right spot, you won't be able to wiggle it around. So let me show you what I mean. So right now, if I put it here, you can see I can wiggle it around. If you push it into the right spot, even without pushing it onto the connector, just if it's resting on it, you can see if I move it around, it stays there. Okay, that's how you know it's lined up, and then you can go ahead and put pressure to lock it into place. Okay, we had the SSD right here, so we're going to put the SSD back in. It goes in at an angle like this. Okay, then push from here. Might have to wiggle it a little, slowly lower it down as you're pushing, and there we go. Again, this one has the ring of the screw mount raised a little, so make sure that the SSD isn't resting on top of that ring that's sticking up, or you can damage the SSD. Okay, get that screw in. All right, we got the speaker connector over here. Plug that in, just line it up. We do have to peel up this adhesive tape stuff as well. Okay, so pinch that in just like that. All right, make sure that latches up, and then line this up. Make sure that's in all the way, otherwise the keyboard won't work right. Okay, and then slide your finger over the latch just like that. I'm gonna go ahead and tape that back down. Okay, we got the actual keyboard connector. I think the other one is for the backlight. I'm not 100% sure though. But get that, line it up, push that in. I like to use this blue tab with my fingernail to kind of push it in and hold it, and then slide your finger over to latch it down. Okay, we got the other connector here for the touchpad, trackpad. Flip that latch up. Okay, and same thing, get this cable in. Okay, it should slide in, and then make sure you hold that in place, slide your finger over to latch it down. All right, we do have also the new SSD that the customer bought. Okay, it's a 980 Pro Samsung PCIe NVMe SSD, and we're just gonna slit the thing, cut it open, and get this out. I got a 1 terabyte here. Okay, that's the box like that. Just get it out and get this out. It does have a little screw there, so that's nice. You don't have to have your own screw. Sometimes the laptops, they don't come with it, and then you have to try and figure out what kind of screw you need. That's very annoying. All right, so you can get that, and we'll put that in here. Okay, and push from here, get that in, lower it down. Make sure, again, it's past the raised notch. You can tell because if you try and wiggle it up and down, it can only go so far, and then it hits that raised part. And we're just gonna get that screw in. Okay, then we got this connector over here that we need to put back in. That's for the battery indicator light. Make sure it's centered, make sure you're not putting it at a weird angle. Okay, slide your finger over to latch it down. And I think that's everything. We got to get the battery back in now, and then we should be good to go. We'll try and power it up, make sure everything is working. If you're putting a blank SSD, you do need to initialize it in the disk utility, sorry, not disk utility, the disk manager. Disk utilities from MacBooks. They might also use that in Linux. And then you do want to format it for larger drives, and make sure to do GPT. And what else? Yeah, format it, add a drive letter to it, name it whatever you want. Okay, anyways, we'll get the battery in here, and then that should be it. Okay, so connector, line it up. This one can be a little tricky to line up, and then you kind of got to pinch it in from both sides. Make sure you don't go in at a weird crooked angle, or you can bend the pins under there. And I'm gonna kind of use the edge of the motherboard to kind of help grab it. Okay, and pinch it in just like that. There we go. And then we get the battery back in. Hopefully we didn't forget any connectors. I think we got them all. Okay, there's the raised plastic mounts there that you do have to make sure this lines up and goes into place. And there we go. All right, let's get back all the battery screws. We can also put this plastic thing back on top. I don't know why they have this. It's not really necessary, but we'll just put it back on there. Okay, line up the little circles. Okay, and these squares, kind of made it in a way that it kind of lines up itself. But yeah. All right. Stick that all down, get the battery screws in, and then we'll power it up and make sure it's working. Okay. All right, and of course you do have to go into the disk utility or disk manager and format. If you're looking out for how to do that, it's diskmgmt.msc. All right. And if you can't, sorry, if you're trying to migrate everything over, I do have a video showing how to do that. So if you want to upgrade the SSD to a new one and not just add a second SSD, because this SSD should technically be a lot faster than this SSD. So I would recommend cloning this to here and then formatting this one as storage, because it'll be a lot faster if you run it off the faster SSD. But yeah, all right. Anyways, the customer just told me to install it blank, because for me to do that extra step, I do charge a little more. So yeah, all right. Anyways, we're gonna just get this, line it back up, click that back in. I probably should have actually powered it on first, but pretty sure it'll work. So let me click this all back in, and then we'll just open it up and take a look. Okay, make sure this all goes back in. Good. Let's carefully open this back up, push the power button, and let's see. Wait, did I not? I thought I plugged in that one, right? Let me double check. pretty sure I plugged in the power button cable. Maybe I have to plug in the power before it turns on. Yeah, I did plug that one in. Okay, so alright, let's go ahead and see. It didn't power on the first press, so sometimes you gotta press and hold for gaming laptops, and nope, nothing's happening. So let me go ahead and plug it in first, because sometimes disconnecting the battery causes it to not want to power on until you plug it in first. So we will plug the power in here. Untie this, it's all tangled up. Come on. Sorry, their charger's all tangled. Okay, we're gonna plug this guy in. Okay. And then we shall see. Ew, there's like gooey stuff on their charger. Okay, let's plug this in here. Which side was it on? This side? Okay. Plug it in. This light's not lighting up. Okay, it's lighting up now, you can see. So, power it on, and the power's coming on. We should be good to go. Let me unplug it now. Okay, it's running completely on battery power now. So we should be good to go. All right, and it is powering on. So yeah, this one they designed so if you remove the battery, it looks like you do have to plug it in before it will turn itself back on. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We are just gonna get all the screws back in. Okay, normally with spinning hard drives, you don't want to close it and move it around too much while it's running. But in this case, it is an SSD, so we should be okay. Putting back all the screws now, okay? And that's pretty much all there is to it. Hopefully this video helped you guys out. Again, if it did, please make sure to like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. If it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit does help make me continue making these videos for a living and make me more motivated to continue working on these kinds of things. Because when I do this kind of thing, normally if I'm not recording, I would be like listening to music, watching like YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, something like that. But if I'm making these videos, I can't do any of that because I can't have any of those sounds in it. And also if I'm distracted, it makes it so it's hard to kind of make sure I know what to what I'm saying, and if I leave something out, I'm not going to catch it as easily. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, if you can't do any of those, like helping out by contributing to the channel like financially, you can also contribute by watching a few of my other videos. That tells the YouTube algorithm that my channel is helpful or entertaining, or you like to watch them, and then it will more often share my channel with others. If you just watch one and like and subscribe and never watch another one again, YouTube kind of takes it as like you must have been bribed or something. So so either that, or they think it's like a fake account that's liking and subscribing. So it's best if you kind of watch a few and come back to my channel every so often. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll get these last few screws in and we should be good to go. Again, 3 screws were missing, so there is that. Okay. And yeah. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Hopefully I didn't record with the static because I forgot I started charging the battery on this phone. Alright, anyways, let's drop this. Bye. Alright, as you can see, I'm actually cloning the old SSD to the new one. Okay. Oh, why isn't it focusing? There you go. And this thing is going fast. Look at that. It's copying at 1.89 gigabytes per second. That's super fast. All right, so we're gonna let it clone, and yeah, pretty much I'm gonna swap the SSDs, and then I'm gonna format the 512 gig one. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye. All right, as you can see, I put the faster SSD in there now. And there's the old one. What I'm going to do is I want to make sure that the computer boots with the new SSD in there before I go and turn it on. I actually cloned it in advance. We're going to power it up. All right, you can see we don't need to plug it in. And if I see the little spinning wheel, I think we should be good to go. So There we go. All right. So basically, I'm going to restart the computer one time. It's important to do a restart when you do big hardware changes. And then we're going to put the other SSD in and format it. Or actually, I'll format it outside and then I'll put it back. So that's pretty much it. And if you're wondering how I format it, I go in the disk utility, wipe it out. If it doesn't let me wipe out all the partitions, actually go into the device, not the device manager, command prompt disk part, and then I'll clean the entire drive like partition. I'll just click clean, and it basically tells it that